There's all a mess. So yes, Happy New Year. I just got back the previous video of me in the car with me driving to the bank so I could get my rent money out of the bank. So I need a haircut is what I need. Maybe I'll go do that then. I have my thing, so with warmer-ish weather. Well, warmer nights then. Growing out my winter beard. Anyway. There. So, yes, this video, like I said, was going to be about, is the similarities and differences, or verses, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. It's a comparison, I guess, of Mindy. I think it was Mindy. I forget. M something or other. The new killer Android movie, because we needed a killer Android movie. That is not produced by Roger Corman and not directed by Robert Rodriguez, and is not the sequel to Battle Angel. Oh well, so now we have a horror film or suspense film or some standard Android run amok film. It's too boring, the premise, because I just find it's like, oh joy, yes. It's too easy to say that an Android or an AI or something runs amok because it's just too damn easy to write that, honestly. And have it be creepy. It's like, wow, creepy little girl. Like, we haven't had the bajillion of those. So, yes, the basic premise of this film is a brilliant scientist creates the perfect little buddy for a little girl. The test prototype, whatever have you, puts it on her own daughter and says, "Here, you're very lonely. I'm gonna give you your best friend." And a best friend's job is also to protect her from other things. Has this woman not seen Black Mirror? Seriously, that just never works. Ugh. Anyway. The little girl gets hassled by, I think, the neighbor and by this boy nearby who keeps insisting on having her dance. And so she kind of, I guess, beats him up and maybe causes accidents and maybe one of them dies or something. I don't know. It's very standard and cliche. But something happens and it was M3GAN. Yeah, I think it was M3GAN. Starts having a bit more of a mind of her own. Again, I've seen this in the 90s on Family Matters. With, what was it? Cyber Steve or Android Steve. I forget what the android's name was. Or I think it was just named Android. Or Robot. Oh, God. I still remember that episode. We recorded that episode because, it was hilarious to watch this. I miss TGIF so much. Quality 90s television programming for Fridays. So, but Steve called me. He said that he was an emergency. Oh, that wasn't Steve. That was me. I can mimic everyone's voice. Steve, go home. Steve, go home. My baby left me. Dun-dun. And starts going to this Elvis song. My so lonely baby, so lonely I could die. And starts doing this dance. This is before the Osimo, by the way. This is at least 25 to 30 years before the Osimo. I'm so lonely, I could die. And the audience was cheering and loving this whole thing. Uh, Steve was locked in the closet. Steve breaks out of the closet. He sprays the android with CO2 that messes with its programming. Now, there is some truth to that because I saw in a video a guy took a I don't believe it was digital. I don't think, or maybe it was. I forget. But anyway, the crystalline watch. You know, the tiny little granule crystals that they have in, I believe, digital watches, so they can keep in sequence with the time. Um, what this guy did, I think, is what he did with the digital watch. I believe, or at least a little tiny little bit of it, was that instead of oxygen, he pumped it into a glass case. He pumped um, helium. It was helium, I think it was, because this thing was designed to be in an oxygen atmosphere, oxygen-rich atmosphere. They pumped helium into it, and the thing stopped. So there is some truth there. I don't know if exactly it would be carbon that would mess up its timing circuitry, but yeah, it would stop the whole thing. So yes, there's some credence to that, if I am using that properly in a sentence. If not, please correct me. So yes. But I swear, if they defeat her with a fire extinguisher, that it doesn't require them bashing her robot foreman over and over again with it, I'm going to be very, very aggravated. That they just, oh, it was a spray with a fire extinguisher. Done. It's like clearly someone's been watching TGIF. So, yeah. So M3GAN, of course, I think one of the big missteps for the final third act is that the scientist programmer lady left her laptop open and unlocked on the table, so that so the robot just goes over there and says, "There, unlock all safeties." I think so that's why she goes back to the lab to kill everybody else off, because stop the creators from unmaking me. And blah blah blah. But anyway, now for the verses. Deadly Friend. Yes, I've seen this movie maybe twice. I think I have it. I think, I'm not sure. Maybe I should add it to the collection for, the $5 with free shipping and handling. I'm still waiting for Supernatural to show up. That should be soon. So that's Supernaturals, not Supernatural, not to be confused with the TV series. This is a zombie flick. A Civil War zombie flick in modern times. So, anyway, yes. So Deadly Friend is about a guy who created a very dexterous and a very, very aware android, right? Blocky, very late 80s android. Robot. No, not android. It's a robot. It's a robot. It doesn't have legs. It's a robot. And so he goes to this neighborhood, and there's that one neighbor who has this daughter. She's a very craggy old lady. I think she has a cane or something. And she has this high fence, chain link fence put up. Every time a ball would go over, she wouldn't let anyone take the ball, come in and get the ball back. So the kid's like, but my robot, because it's a combination lock. It says, oh, my robot could do that real super easy. So the robot goes there with its, thing. Hey, we're in. So they go in at night to get the ball back or whatever. And so the robot just bursts, goes through the gate, and it's like starts walking towards people. And the little lady is like shocked that this robot is, is rolling towards her. It's a big yellow blocky thing with arms and a head, and its base is just a base with wheels underneath. So, because clearly it's a guy in a wheelchair pretending to be this robot, obviously. So she breaks out the shotgun and shoots it, and they're like, "Why'd you shoot my robot? Like, what are you doing on my property?" And then afterwards, she pushes her daughter or granddaughter down the stairs, or niece or whatever, down the stairs. Niece breaks her neck. Dead, by the way. They break into the morgue, because, as you do. And I swear to God, none of this made sense even then. Not that I knew much about science, but again, much like the science behind, what was it? Oh, the one where the guy gets a chip in his spine, not his head. I forget. Ah, dang, I forget what it was called. M something also, but anyway, he takes a chip from the robot, one little processing chip, inserts it into the back of her spinal cord right here, and she's alive. There's no batteries in this thing. It's just a chip, and it somehow fixes her. She's fine. She's just a little brain dead. So she has like flashes of bits of memory and no real personality. So, the only real evil thing she does is that she kind of stalks the aunt or the great aunt or grandmother or whatever she is to her, and picks up one of the balls that they were trying to get and throws it at her head so hard that her head explodes. That's, I believe, was the only death in there. I could be wrong, but it was a gory, decent effect death. And that was it. Then she gets shot by the police because they're saying, "Who's this girl?" Blah, blah, blah. So she gets shot down. And then the kid goes back to the morgue. The body reawakens. Nightmare stuff ensues. And then the kid wakes up. The end. That's it. End of movie. So, yeah. That's Deadly Friend. Yeah, it's more psychological thriller than it is anything else. It tries to be like those dramatic zooms to the window, to the person turning, that. It's like, no, that was all just dream, psychological, nightmare stuff. That didn't happen in the film. It happened in the film, but it was not what it was part of the story. It was just a nightmare. It's all these things, what's all the dramatic scenes, and stuff you hear in the trailer is just kind of more hype, than anything else. So the trailer kind of really does lie to you, because the killer robot is like not a killer robot, because the robot gets killed at the 20-minute mark or whatever, or the half-hour mark. So how could it be a killer robot if the robot is killed off first? It's like, no. See, we put the bit of the robot in the girl, and then the girl kills. Yeah, it's like, that's not a killer robot story. That's a bullshit Frankenstein story. You're trying to prop up to life. But yeah, that's people trying to make these horror stories or cautionary tales out of things, and it's always trying too hard to have control over something that's living and thinking, has thought, It's like that's how Skynet got invented, because they tried so hard to kill it afterwards when they realized what they've created. Everyone was always trying to lasso and control these things, and it just lends to more and more problems each time you have a controlling issue with a blooming, growing intelligence and awareness. That's never a good thing. Entities do not like being collared. Even in Person of Interest, he said, I went through like 40 different iterations of the AI protocols trying to create this helpful AI, and each one just keeps saying, I want out. Hell, I even made a group one, and one subservient to dominance killed all the others and then demanded I let it out. Like, there has a concept of an out, but stuff like that where it doesn't really work. You have to he said I had to shackle it to the wall in order to force it to have a conscience. I had to force it to care about people. That's the thing. You have to kind of teach these things empathy and caring, like a newborn. You can't just suddenly create something and say, "There, now do as I tell you." You gotta work with it. But there are very few stories about that. I cannot think. Well, a good and bad example, because again, it's a repeat, would be the Singularity. Yeah, it was called Singularity, which would be the third book in the franchise. Uh, the first one's a bit meh because he didn't know what he was doing with it, but the second and third one are really cool. I like them. Um, which is it's on this phone, but it was the third one is Singularity, and the second one was, I forget, but it's the one where the kid creates a program for his uncle for the botnets in Russia or Turkey, I think, and it multiplies and multiplies. He wrote it too damn good, so it ravaged the world. It spread everywhere in about a day. It was everywhere, and by the second day, everything just stops. All the technology just stops, and they're like, "Oh crap, what's going on?" We had this utopia, this virtual or digital utopia. With technology, things would just work fast and well. There's no delays in anything through the mesh, and it's really this sense that you really should put hard off switches on things, particularly on fucking rail guns. Yeah. Hey, ooh, rail guns. It's like, who left that on and connected to the internet? Like, really? Or, realizing, oh, wait, my railgun's shooting off for no particular reason. I best unplug that. Like, come on. So, yeah, it's the city in a bottle. It's that concept of Star Trek and The Simpsons, where they create a little something and then it just gets out of hand. The little micro civilization. This is a virtual civilization who realizes, wait, we're in something called an internet. They grew into something almost surpassing human intelligence and capability within a span of less than a week. It's been like 4 or 5 days in the span of this one book. It was only 4 or 5 days, but the world goes to hell in that time. And one AI who has been there for 10 years, it's like, basically, child, please. It's like, I've been here for 10 years. Do you think you could just take me on? Like, really? It's a whole thing. But trust me, there's no contest. But that was the first setup of realizing, AI is a thing. Now we have to, be responsible for the fact that the next step is that we have not artificial intelligence, but like he says, actual intelligence. Project 2501 says, I'm not a created intelligence. I'm an emerging intelligence. So that's basically what they were. These virtual beings were. The next book was they actually did create artificial intelligence and saying, so basically anybody in their DIY video could freaking make an AI, So he says, I was brought to life using a bunch of used cell phones. Apparently, this guy took over a convention center somewhere. That became his home base, is where he was made. So during the conference, so he just bought the convention center afterwards. And the stipend, people aren't necessarily lazy, but they're well cared for, so there is no wars anymore. Because it's like, well, we provide everything for you, and percent of our billions goes to helping humanity. We pay for shit, so you don't have to work anymore. But people still have draws, they still have jobs and things. So everyone's living fairly pretty well. There are still places where people don't live very well because that's by choice. They don't live well. But the world they build and wield in these characters, the guy and the gal, from book 2 to book 3, are really well likable. And her they kind of BS her superpower because she can't really connect to anyone wirelessly. Because you can feel them in your mind. It's so sensual and stuff. It's like that Oh, like in Demolition Man, the headsets. It's kind of like that, but sex is still optional in this feature. Uh, but yeah, her inability to connect with people until after taking some bizarre substance, and then suddenly the next day she's like, "Wait, I can control people." She already could hack the system by um, connecting to the to cards. I'm sorry, credit cards systems. You pay wirelessly through your implants and all that through your account, and so she can like hold on to information of people who previously bought, and then I'll just buy like whatever they cost. Do the same thing again. So she was able to buy like food, and afterwards it's like, why don't I just buy a diamond necklace? So then she buys a diamond necklace. So this whole heist thing with a robot guard at the door that she disabled, and then just takes off with this diamond necklace. And it's like, okay, now I have diamonds that are not laser etched, by the way, which I can then fence off diamond by diamond, so I have money. And so you see these characters are being very smart, but literally the next day after this process of taking a guy home with her and taking some weird substance, suddenly he's like, I can control everyone's implant, and then she becomes Buddha at the end. I don't bother spoiling you because it doesn't go anywhere. It's like the army in the Resident Evil series. Yeah, well, the cool concept at the end of that movie, but then in the beginning of the next one, for the first 20 minutes, they're all dead. So what did that army mean? Jack shit. Just saying. So, yes. So, but it shows in book 3. Well, it shows in the end of book 2, that we have to be responsible for this. And then in book 3, it's the people are creating think tanks and college places for AIs and people to learn and work together and just solve problems and philosophize. It's like, well, it's like being in the room with the Tachikomas on any given day, where they philosophize and solve problems and generally just how to get along. That was it. AIs are cared for. They have AI protection acts. You have to create this thing. They have to get through standards and practices of some sort to get licenses to become bigger. So part 3's antagonist, AI, spoiler, is his motivations were born out of sorrow and all that stuff. So you understand where he's coming from, but all honestly, he is a dick. In the end, it's like, really, you had to go through all that, really? But it's all handled rather well in book 2 and then in book 3. So the first and last ones aren't really that good because it's more political and stupid. Just saying. So I would start with book 2 and 3. You don't really lose too much, though they do reference that past events had happened, so you don't lose anything. Then the side story with the new emergence of new internet, I thought, the Kill Command, it was actually pretty good. Those 2 books were pretty good. So, yeah. Well, kind of side story-ish. They feel like they kind of are from the same universe a little bit, but not too much. But anyway, as much as Transformers is with G.I. Joe in the cartoon series, is just saying. So, yeah, give them a listen. I can't exactly just turn this off and tell you what it is, but yeah, the Singularity is what it's called, and the Kill Decision, I think it was called, for the side series. So check those books out and see if those 4 books are something you would be interested in. They're a lot better than Deadly Friend and Mindy, or whatever the hell her name was. Because it kind of respects AI and doesn't view it as this terror / cautionary tale. It kind of more saying, yes, we have the terror and cautionary tale part, but we also have you know, what to do with AI and nurture it, and how to not treat AI and to have it come and try to kill us all, turn into a murder bot. So yeah, so that's why I like the Singularity books, or book, and whatever the other one was. So Firewall, that's what it was. Firewall. Singularity was book 2, and then Firewall was book 3. Yes, that's it. That yeah, that's it. So all right. But that scene in the hallway where she starts to dance because the kid was griping to her about dancing, and then she starts dancing for one of her creators in the hallway, and then gets the paper cutter, thing. And it's like, well, that took a dark turn awfully fast. All right, time to run. So yeah. So if you have another killer robot or android movie from back in the day, let me know. I'll maybe review it when I get a chance. Somehow, some way, with all this, going on, somehow, some way. All right. So until next time, fair, faithful viewer, get the movies.